Yes, welcome back to Football Heritage TV. I hope you are all well. Please smash the like button, hit the notification bell if you haven't, and please subscribe. It really does help the channel grow. And in this morning's video, or by the time you see this, it will be this afternoon, I'm asking about Semenyo. Now, this guy seems to be flavour of the month. This guy is the guy that at the moment everyone's talking about. Where will Semenyo end up? Semenyo's release clause. Is he going to Arsenal? Is it Liverpool? Is it Tottenham Hotspur? Is he going to stay at Bournemouth? Will he move in January? Will it be next summer? He's just signed a new contract. All of these wonderful things we're going to talk about because Semenyo, for me, pretty much personifies football and football fans in 2025. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, Semenyo was a player that was touted around at the beginning of the transfer window, and many fan bases, especially the fan base, obviously, most of you watching this will be Spurs fans. When you said Semenyo's name, people went, oh, 60 million for Semenyo. Oh, 65, 70. No, this is ridiculous. Get rid. No. This is ridiculous. Spurs, look at someone else. Then 7 games into a new Premier League season, and now he seems to be the only one that people want. Now, I don't know if this is a sad indictment on people's ability to look beyond 5 to 10 games, or whether or not people are having second thoughts and thinking maybe they were a little bit harsh on the player, or is the player not as good as many think? Now, I'm a big fan of Semenyo. Watching him the last couple of years, you can see there's a lot of talent, there's a lot of ability, and I'm more than happy if my club wanted to sign him, but we'll come back to that a little bit later. But a lot of fans really do ride with the crest of the wave, don't they? Somebody's in form, snap him up. He's the one. Because before that, it was Savio. Now it's Semenyo. Before that, it was Eze. And I think we need to be very careful that we don't all get drawn into this. He is the only option. From a Spurs fan point of view, sitting here and saying this is the only option for a player that could join Spurs, and specifically for that left-sided winger problem that Tottenham have. And we do have a problem, no matter what people think about Tell and Odegaard, and Richarlison can play there, and Johnson. We need a proper left winger. And at the moment, Semenyo's the most in-form left winger. Now, I like Semenyo. I would love Tottenham Hotspur to sign Semenyo. It doesn't mean I think he's the only player Tottenham Hotspur can sign. But we won't get into that right now. What we're going to have a look at is, why is he in such high demand? Why now? Why the moment after he's just signed a new 5-year contract? Why is he so high in demand? Is it a fad? Is it a phase? Or is he genuinely the real deal? I'll leave you guys to decide that. As I've already said, I really like him. I would love Spurs to sign him. But I'm also someone that doesn't think it's as easy as many fans think. Now, what do we know? Well, if you type into Google, Semenyo release clause, Semenyo Bournemouth contract, Semenyo Arsenal, Semenyo Liverpool, Semenyo Spurs, you will get a million stories. Of which one thing we do know is true. 2 things, in fact. One, he did sign a new contract with Bournemouth, and that contract runs until 2030. So he has 5 years left on the contract. Now, what does that do? Well, we all know what that does. That gives Bournemouth the absolute, they've got the cards. Gives them the power. They've got the strength in any transfer negotiations. 5-year deal. What it also means is Semenyo would have had a pay rise, and Semenyo can take his time, have a look around and say, right, what do I want to do? Who wants to sign me and who do I want to sign for? What we also know for Semenyo is that there is a release clause in his new contract. The dreaded term, if you're a Spurs fan after the Morgan Gibbs-White scenario, the dreaded term of a release clause. Now, release clauses, again, are not as simple as many people think. Let's just play devil's advocate. If Semenyo has a release clause in his contract that says 75 million. I use this just to be safe. I don't want to start talking about 100 millions. It could be 100 million, but let's just say Bournemouth have inserted into his contract a 75 million release clause. Fans will just say, pay it, pay it, pay it, pay it. Now, we don't know what's behind that release clause. Is it 75 million in one upfront fee? Now, that would be ballsy from Bournemouth. Not beyond the realm of possibility, but probably not very likely. Maybe his clause says, right, if it's 75, by the way, I don't know that. It could be 85, 95, I don't know. We're just going by hypotheticals. Maybe it's 75 million, but the paying club have to pay 50 million up front and the other 25, 12 months later. Maybe it's 75 million and you will pay half now and half in 6 months. Maybe you've got all of those things encompassed with, well, whoever buys him, we have to have a 10, 15, 20, 25% sell-on clause into his contract. And this is where it becomes difficult for football clubs for a number of reasons. One, if you are being asked to put a release clause, a sell-on clause into a contract, you don't want to give too much away, do you? You don't want to turn around and go, yes, we'll take him now and we'll put 20% clause on him so that when we sell him for 80 million, we only get 60 because we're giving 20 million to you. Whatever numbers you want to put in there. But also, you've got to look at it and say, how many football clubs out there can afford, I don't know, 35 million up front, 40 million up front, 50 million up front? Not many football clubs will be able to do that because they've also got, all football clubs have got debt in terms of payments that they already owe on other footballers. So, for example, Spurs is something like 250, 260 million on current players that we've signed that we owe. That's not just Spurs. All clubs have that to varying degrees. Depending on, if I buy a player for 70 million, but I pay 20 million up front, I've got to pay that 50 million off in whatever payment terms have been agreed with the selling club. That could be 10 million a year for 5 years. That could be 25 million over 2 years. We don't know. But that sort of thing has to be thought about. Now, immediately Spurs fans will go, yeah, but we just had the 100 million put in. From ENIC have put in 100 million. But again, we don't know, do we? Is that for transfers? Is the 100 million, is anyone turning around and going, yeah, by the way, use 50% of that to put down a down payment on one footballer? Just asking questions. We might not. I'm not saying I know. I like to try and pose questions. I like to try and make people's brains tick over. I like, when we're having football conversation, I like to think. I like to provoke and get conversations flowing in this area. Now you've got to think about away from the release clause. By the way, the release clause might say you can go for 75 million, but it has to be in a summer transfer window. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. That could be wrong. It could be right. I don't know. But if it does, then it means he's not moving in January, right? That's how it works. It could be, hey, you can move for the 75 million, but it can only be to a club in this position, top 4, top 3. I don't know. There's going to be clause after clause after clause after clause. And that's why I don't think it's always so simple to just say, just pay the money. Anyone who says to you, just put the money down, clearly never worked in business or clearly never worked in football, because this is not that simple. Now let's look at the flip side of this. And this is the thing that people get upset about. As a Spurs fan, I would love Semenyo to come to Tottenham. I would love to think that we are his first choice. Bearing in mind, I don't know if Spurs want him, just rumours. As I said, type in Semenyo and Spurs, look at all the rumours, all the different internet sites, papers, publications, all putting it out there. But you're hearing that Liverpool and Arsenal want the guy as well. And that, for me, straight away becomes the bigger blocker than anything. Bigger than the release clause, bigger than the time of the year you can buy him. That, for me, becomes the problem. Because if Tottenham, Arsenal and Liverpool are all going for a footballer, we've seen this story before. And there is a football food chain. Now, it doesn't mean every player is just going to pick the biggest club. It doesn't always mean that. But most of the time it does, right? More often than not, the bigger clubs are going to get the players before anybody else because they've got the reputation, they've got the funds, they win trophies more regularly, they're challenging for titles, yada, yada, yada. Now, I'm not saying that if Spurs were in a freeway transfer battle with Liverpool and Arsenal, that we can't get him. I don't know Semenyo. I'm hearing he's an Arsenal fan. I don't know. Maybe, though, Semenyo looks and says, hang on, I want to go to Tottenham because I'm guaranteed a game week in, week out at Tottenham. Maybe. I don't know. Again, these are all hypotheticals that I'm throwing out there. Maybe he looks and says, well, why would I want to join them? Liverpool just won the league. Of course I want to join Liverpool. Or, well, Arsenal finish second every year. They're always in a title challenge. I want to join them. Maybe he wants to go and play with Eze and Rice and all the... Again, I don't know. Maybe he wants to come to Tottenham and play with Kudus, his Ghanaian teammate. Again, I don't know. But what I do know is that this boy is going to be sought after. And circumstances need to be right for deals like this to get done. And we saw in the summer, it's not that simple. We saw with Eze. We all lost our minds. But realistically, we know that Arsenal would have been asked to be kept informed with movements. And the moment Spurs looked like they were going to secure a deal, Arsenal came in. Hey, I want to go to Arsenal. And the deal was wrapped up in no time. Now, that doesn't mean it's always going to replicate that moving forward. Of course it doesn't. Things change. Anomalies happen. Circumstances change. Of course they do. I'm just trying to put it out there that as much as Semenyo is a very good player, and for me, a very good fit for Tottenham Hotspur, he's not the only left-sided player. But right now, he's the only one anyone's considering. And he has got 5 years left on his contract. Now, let's have a look. So if we look at Semenyo here, what do we know about him? Well, let's go to the top, probably the best place to start. What do we know? We know that he's 25 years of age, saying he's a right winger, but we know he can play on the right or the left. He's been playing off the left this season and scoring plenty of goals. Ghanaian international, 31 caps, 3 goals. Not the greatest, but hey, decent. And then this is what people are looking at this year, right? This is what they are looking at. 7 appearances, 6 goals, 3 assists. So right now, he's got 9 goal contributions in 7 games, which is good, which is very good. Now, it doesn't mean that that's going to continue throughout the season, but he is in a very rich vein of form. You can see here, if I highlight there that his contract expires in 2030, that makes it a very difficult deal to do, depending on the release clause again. We've always got to put that in. And then here you can see it's showing that he can play as a right winger, left winger, and a centre forward. But let's have a look, shall we? His stats overall. We know he's played for Bristol City and now Bournemouth, signed for just over 10 million. But when we have a look at his stats overall, this year's stats look amazing. But was everyone going overboard with these stats? Now, I like him. I said last year I liked him. 11 Premier League goals last year and 6 assists. For me, very good for a wide man, right? 17 goal contributions in 37 games. It's not to be sniffed at. It's just under 1 in 2. It's not to be sniffed at at all. So we're seeing a guy who's on the rise, right? We're seeing a guy that is on the rise. And you can see here, he's got 5 of those goals last year. So 5 of those goals from the right, 4 from the left, 1 from left midfield, 1 right midfield, and 1 as centre forward. So what we know about this guy is as he's getting a bit older, he is starting in the last 2 years to become a lot more consistent, which makes it a very nice time to buy a player like this, doesn't it? So I'm going to leave you with this. It's such an interesting one. How players come into fashion, don't they? How in 3 months' time, no one might be talking about this guy. Because as I said, 3 months ago, it was Savio. Now, all of a sudden, no one wants Savio. They're talking about Semenyo. It's strange, isn't it, how we all change and move and mould and bend. But I'll leave it with this. 1, do you want Semenyo? 2, give me 2 or 3 other names that you would like as well as Semenyo. You know, other options for that left-hand side. 3, would he join Tottenham over Liverpool, over an Arsenal? Do we have anything over them that we can offer him? And last but not least, I'll ask you this. Is Semenyo just in fashion right now, or do you really like him? Is this going to be something where in a couple of months he doesn't have as good a form and suddenly people stop rating him? Let me know your thoughts. I'll be back live tonight with the Spurs 5 at 8 p.m. With the lads. We'll be having a lot of chat about Paratici and Lang. Looking forward to Aston Villa. We'll probably be talking a bit about Semenyo as well. Much love. Please smash the notification bell. Please hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. And as always, come on, you Spurs.